grew up very shy, and so English was essentially my second language.
Nursing, that's
Right.
the big one.
I come across very confident.
I'm going to put myself in that position to do it over and over and over and over again.
To me, motivation comes in the action.
Always are thinking more negative than positive. Sometimes really you have to be at a place where it's like you're completely dissatisfied.
Having a mentor can help people overcome negativity that they feel toward themselves.
100%.
You may have the best coach in the world, but if you're not willing to take action on your own, you'll be left over.
You can feel stuck if you don't know what the next step is, or if you're fearful.
They might be going to these leadership trainings, but they're still not really engaged with their job.
No matter the amount of training you get, if you have very poor habits, I don't know if that would help you.
That is a crazy question. Even with someone to get the job, or whatever the case might be.
Shabana, have you seen that happen?
A lot of people actually do get benefit of moving up that way too.
That's a great question. Angry, mad enough to be like, I don't deserve to be here and I can be somewhere else.
She actually started helping me organize my resume. And
I don't agree with that person though, just for one reason. I see a lot of growth in
But
those
I think, like, the
organizations.
way
A lot
out-
of people are dissatisfied with their jobs though, but
Yeah.
they're too scared to
Yeah.
admit the fact that they're very dissatisfied with their jobs.
The main reason for a lot of people probably is the paycheck.
One, their skills are not transferable to other jobs.
I like money a
Yeah.
lot. Passion should not always be the driving force behind career decisions.
People that are educated versus non-educated.
Do you think college degrees would soon be in extinction?
People actually are looking for that human connection because we've been so much apart because of AI. Anything in human services, I think that's going to be sticking around for a very long time.
They died to be a data scientist. That's changing.
How AI is actually causing younger people to have a case of early dementia signs.
I think that like technology, there's like pros and cons.
It's this capitalistic society, whatever works, because no one is using their brain to critically think about anything anymore. I think
Today's conversation is one that a lot of people are going to feel deeply about, because we're talking about something so many people experience but don't always say it out loud. Why most people hate their jobs and why they are so scared to change.
Have you ever felt stuck in your career? You feel like you're capable of more, but you don't know how to take your next move, or you're not just sure of what your next move should be. Today's guest is someone who would help us unpack that and who has helped countless people break through exactly that. She is the director of career development and engagement at her organization. She has helped people and organizations break through learning new trainings and doing things that empower themselves. She would be talking a lot more about that. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a leader. She's part of one of the biggest organizations in the Albany capital region, Susu Women Foundation, which helps leaders that empower communities both locally and globally. Welcome, Maria Majalo. It's a pleasure to have you on this platform.
thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely. Before we dive into the topic though, if you haven't subscribed yet to 518 Reset, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and follow us. And also remember to leave your comments so we know what about this conversation resonates with you.
Mariama, welcome to our podcast. I wanted to know, obviously, we want to dig into our topic that why people are stuck what they do and why they don't move forward and change. So first, I want to know a little bit about your personal journey, what led you to become a staff development director.
Yeah, so again, thank you for having me, both you ladies. My story is very different in terms of how I pursued the entire staff development thing. I grew up very shy, and so English was essentially my second language. So when growing up, I just felt like I needed to be more. And I went to school, and I was going to pursue nursing because from being from an African background, that's usually what tends to happen.
I can totally agree with you on that one. Nursing, that's
Right.
the big one.
As you can tell, my mother was very disappointed that that's not the career path that I was choosing. So I decided I want to go to nursing school, and I dropped out because I actually passed out in clinicals. That's what's kind of crazy. So then I realized nursing really was not for me. So I then decided, what can I do that is more, could be utilized here in Africa, just being able to use those skills wherever I end up in the world. So I decided to go back to school and get my public health degree, so like master's in health policy. So I thought that was it. And so I interned at the UN, so I really wanted to do that kind of work. But then I remember how I was always, even making presentations in college, I used to be so shy, and I would completely blank out when I am making presentations. And so then I decided, what career path can take me where I can be outside of my comfort zone? Mm-hmm. And what better path than training people here out there? So that's really how I got into it, right? I started doing my first interview. I rehearsed, I was gonna lose it. It was some intensive stuff that I did. So I did that, and I aced the interview. And then after that, I was like, hey, you're offered the job. And I'm like, you mean me? I got the job. So that was how I got into this whole thing.
Oh, wow. When you said that you used to be very shy, and now you present in big occasions with hundreds of people, thousands of people, because I've watched you when you facilitated the Susu Women Foundation event, you were phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
I remember watching you from the audience, just looking at you and seeing you talk. I felt like it came to you very naturally. That's why I'm kind of like, oh, did she say she was shy? So how did you get over that shyness?
I was just about to ask you this question because I feel the same. I think Judith always says that I come across very confident, but I'm a very shy person, and I still haven't really fully come over that shyness. I actually wanted to know that too. Like, how did you overcome that shyness?
So anything that you're hesitating to do, I've always been the person who I go towards what is uncomfortable. And I still to this day feel like I'm kind of shy, but it is for every single time that I do it. So feedback is really important to me. And so just being able to hear other people's feedback, hey, how did I do in this training? Did you really grasp the concept that I was trying to communicate to you? You know, all of those things really made me, I got this. And really and truly, with anything you do in life, it's just more practice, right? I'm not comfortable doing this, so therefore I'm going to put myself in that position to do it over and over and over and over again and see how I can always tweak it, right? So essentially, that's how that happened for me.
I like what you just said, though. To me, motivation comes in the action. The more you do something, the more motivated you feel about doing something.
Right.
But I want to pivot back to the question of people starting over, right? Do you think people underestimate their ability to pivot or start over?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just being human, right? We always are thinking more negative than positive. So if you're someone who in this position where you're doubting yourself all the time, it would be really hard for you to just be like, I need to do this, I need to do that, right? So you have to be like surrounded with the people that are motivating you, they're encouraging. And so that can get you outside of like comfort to say, I can try something different. But it's really difficult for people to take that step. Sometimes really you have to be at a place where it's like you're completely dissatisfied with what's going on internally, and then you try to do something different. But I think by human nature, right, we underestimate ourselves a lot more than we got this, we can do this. Right.
Yeah, I can relate to this because I just feel like I always had that negative perspective about myself. Anything that I do, I would always question myself, and then I would not really pursue something. So I actually have my professor, we randomly just started talking. Now it's been like 10 years and he's been my mentor.
Yeah.
And I think whatever I feel now, so much confident in so many different things that I do, I still feel shy sometimes, but I think that confidence that my mentor has given me, spending each week an hour with me over the phone, it actually helped me. So do you think having a mentor, or like you are surrounded by people who are actually motivating you and helping you to feel good about yourself, it can actually help people overcome some of the negativity that they feel toward themselves?
I think 100%, like having someone who you can bounce ideas off of and someone who can either mentor you, or a lot of people nowadays, we're in 2026, right? So people, you do hire coaches, right? We're not talking about coaches on the football field, but like literally coaches who are going to act as a mentor and can really try to like point you to the right direction. And it's not necessarily to give you the answers, but I feel like every type of obstacle that we go through, there's always higher consciousness within us, and we have what those answers are, and sometimes we just have to dive in to figure out what that is. And so a coach just ultimately empowers that voice to try to guide you.
And I would add that at the end of the day, you may have the best coach in the world, but if you're not willing to take action on your own, you'll be left over. And that brings me, I think, to my next question, which has to do with mindset. So like how would someone's mindset be a determining factor to whether they're staying stuck or they're really taking action that benefits them?
I think that it's hard to speak for other people. However, I do think that you have to have the growth mindset, right? And you have to take the action behind that, right? So you can't just be like a person who's always reading and you never execute, right? It's passive. When they say passively learning about all these different things and you're not putting in the action. You go back to how I got into even training. I had to do it over and over and over and over and over again in order for me to be better at it. And so whatever you're trying to pursue, I think that if you don't have that growth mindset and the action behind that, it's going to be very difficult for you to go anywhere, right? Because you could feel stuck if you don't know what the next step is, or if you're fearful, if you're uncertain. All of those things contribute to you not taking that action, right?
Wow, that's a good point.
So I'm thinking about our topic, basically, like people get stuck at their jobs because they're unhappy, right? And they're not really taking actions. They might be going to these leadership trainings, but they're still not really engaged with their job. They may be not satisfied with their job, right? So like, do you think people who are stuck and don't want to change for their various reasons, their jobs, do you think having that growth mindset can actually help people sort of come out of what they don't like and actually figure out something that they truly or passionately want to pursue?
I think 100%. So here's the thing. When it comes to training individuals or even people going to different seminars, right? You could go to a seminar and you could put an action plan together and say, this is what I'm going to do. And the moment you go back to your life, you start to just be like more routine again and really forget about all of the things you learned. And you were the person who was just really motivated. I'm going to take all of this action when I get out of here, right? But you go back to your normal routine because that's what's comfortable, right? And so when I say to people that get the training, you have employees that would come into a training and they're like, I'm ready to learn, right? That's the mindset. I'm ready to learn. And they go back and try to execute whatever it is that they learn. Those people, right, are the ones that have I want to develop myself and I want to do that, right? But then you have the people that just come into the learning, oh, I'm doing this because I'm told to be here, or, right? And so those are the people who you really see that they're, even when it comes to development, they don't really go too far because for them, I want to learn this right now because that's
for them.
Yeah, I want to just do it.
Internally, they don't feel motivated.
Right.
Like, they don't feel like they want to grow.
You said something about habit. It's almost like a routine. So no matter the amount of training you get, if you have very poor habits, I don't know if that would help you. And that brings me to a very crazy question about career ladder and things like that. All of us want to grow in our careers, right? You train people, you develop people, you provide leadership training to individuals and organizations. Because do you think slipping your way up can actually bring you to a position where you grow in your career without necessarily doing the hard work of taking these trainings and learning new things and getting your job done. Because a lot of us, especially pretty women, right, they can sleep their way up the career ladder. Date the boss.
That is a crazy question. I think as women, we tend to have a lot of challenges when it comes to that. And I do think, on one extreme is like the person who gets handed everything. Oh, because you're pretty, you're getting all these things, right? But some of us actually do believe in actually executing and working hard. And so it can be, very frustrating for the person who is in a position where I'm going to work hard, I'm going to earn whatever it is, and then you have somebody else who's I am going to take every opportunity in front of me, right? Whether it means sleeping with someone to get the job or whatever the case might be, right? So you have those two different things, and this is a little bit personal, but when I was interning and I was young at the time, I've had actual executive actually make approaches, right? And it was like advances towards me,
date.
And it's like
taking that opportunity to date that person, you probably would have gone a lot further, or that prevent you in any way from going further?
That's a good question. And I don't even want to entertain that because my moral and my values would not allow me to even explore that because it was not in my radar. It just made me very uncomfortable, right? And if I can entertain that question, I do think that I would be somewhat different, right? I probably would be in better positions than I just taking, because this is what it is, right? You're taking the long road versus the short road, right?
So do you think cutting corners in that sense?
Yeah.
Do you see any repercussions with cutting corners that way?
100%, right? Because I feel like you're not advancing because of the values and you contribute to the organization itself. It's just like what you had to do to get there, right? And so in that case, you're going to come across a roadblock because you're not intellectually able to execute whatever the job requires in that moment.
Right.
And so you're just going to be stuck. What am I going to do with that?
I can think of a roadblock. Imagine you slept your way into getting a higher position and say management changes, which is the case in so many organizations, right?
Yeah.
Management is always changing. Someone new comes who is focused on results. What if you cannot deliver the results for the position you're holding?
Yeah.
What then happens to you? Shabana, have you seen that happen?
I haven't, but I'm assuming if somebody doesn't have the skills and they jump the ladder just because whatever venue that they chose, right? To me, I feel like if there's management changes, right? And they don't have the favor anymore, then they'll probably get demoted or they'll leave their job because they're not capable of doing the job. They don't have the skills. So, but a lot of people actually do get benefit of moving up that way too. But personally, because of my values, I could never even feel that even somebody would pursue me. I would not even go that approach. I'm like somebody, my family raised me to work hard, have less, but work hard. And I think that kind of also brings confidence in you too when you're doing the right thing or going with your values or not compromising it.
I like that aspect of not compromising your values. Now let's move over to something different. What are some practical steps that people to take to unstuck themselves and avoid situations like sleeping with the boss to get up, or giving people gifts, because that happens, right? Where people give gifts to gain favors, and people create even friendships that don't quite suit who they are, just to move up. But what are real practical steps that anyone in any situation can take to grow?
That's a great question. And the best way that I can answer, and I don't know that there are any practicals, right, to get out of that specifically, because when you're stuck, right? You need friends, you need people who see you in a different light to be able to say, hey, look, you deserve better, you could do better, right? I can help you in that way.
Right.
But being stuck, it's really change doesn't just happen. You have to be extremely dissatisfied. You have to be very frustrated, right? Angry, right? Mad enough to be like, I don't deserve to be here and I can be somewhere else. So you have to be able to conceptualize that in your mind before you can get unstuck, right? Because people can get stuck for a very long time. And it's like, right, if you don't have maybe loved ones that could see that in you, or maybe that supervisor who sees, look, you have so much potential. How do we get you in these different even job duties so that you can see that you can bring more value? It's going to be really hard, right? Because having that ability to get unstuck yourself can be hard, right? It's a hard push unless you're, I said, mad enough to be, I don't deserve this and I deserve better.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about an example because I know when you said somebody pushes you to tell you, maybe your supervisor or somebody who tells you can do better than that. So I remember when I first graduated, I had this job. I was working for a non-for-profit organization, and as soon as I graduated, they promoted me to a director. I was the assistant director, and our director ended up leaving, so I became the director. And I'm somebody, I need a push from somebody or remind me that I can do it, right? So I remember we had a volunteer who was working with us for a little bit, and then she saw me doing this, and I don't know, I was very young, so they pretty much started almost guiding me. She was way older than me, and she started saying, you have so much potential, why do you want to work for a non-for-profit organization? You should be really working somewhere else. So she actually started helping me organize my resume and start.
I don't agree with that person though, just for one reason, because he mentioned, why do you want to work for a non-for-profit organization? As someone who has my MPA, Master of Public Administration, is in non-profit management. I see a lot of growth in those organizations. So if you're going in there, it shouldn't necessarily be for the money. But I feel like your person was looking at the money, the fact that those organizations may not be paying as much as the private sector. So that's where I'm like, I defend non-profits a lot, especially the ones that do good for society. I would.
No. I think you're taking it the wrong way.
Oh, so explain it then.
What I'm saying is, it's something, sometimes you're working, where I was working, that program didn't really have a lot of growth. If I was money wasn't there. I loved the job and it was the most rewarding job ever. It was helping a lot of disadvantaged people. It made me feel good about it, but I also was young. I had just graduated, right? So I'm not against working for non-for-profit organizations, but if you wanted to earn money because you have a degree now, right? You want to build yourself financially, then you should look for positions where you can actually use your skills and develop your skills, right?
On that note though, so how can learning and skill building, training or online learning open new doors for you, right? For instance, someone working in that organization who wants to make a leap to a new career, how can learning, Mariam, I think this is more for you because you are training, leadership development is more of your thing.
So I get both perspectives in terms of where you were coming from. I get that perhaps that person was looking in your best interest, but it could also be bias, right? But because sometimes
you look at it from both perspectives.
No, for sure. So what I was getting at with you is that sometimes we could be, speaking of the idea of being stuck, right? And also mentorship. You were young, you didn't know what you didn't know, and this person's like, hey, look, sky is the limit, right? Go for it. And I could also see how sometimes we could be in these positions and there's really no upward mobility and you're just stuck there. And what do you do with that, right? You have to muster up the courage, even if you have the passion for that job, to, hey, how do I package this up and be somewhere different, right? And something that just, I guess you have to find something that aligns with your values, right? You can't just go somewhere because, I'm going to make more money here, but you may make more money, but you're probably not going to be satisfied, right?
So do you encourage people to go after job satisfaction?
I don't train on job satisfaction per se.
But when you advise people in terms of making a career shift, would you, for instance, give an advice, look for the job that makes you happy?
So that's actually bad for my organization because I can't tell them to go somewhere else, right? But what I do say to people is when they are dissatisfied, it may be their supervisor, it may be the culture of the organization, right? I always ask them or just say, what is it, why did you come here to begin with, right? Because people start working for different reasons. There's a reason for why you applied for this job. And it's not because we were going to pay you millions of dollars, right? So what drove you to this job? can you find that, whatever that is, that why, right? Can you find that and stick with this organization because of that? If not, if you're going home at night and you're feeling like this is not a good alignment, I think you would be doing yourself a disservice to be in that, right? You need to find a way.
I think a lot of people are dissatisfied with their jobs though, but they're too scared to admit the fact that they're very dissatisfied with their jobs.
Right. And I think one of the factors that I'm thinking is that I think a lot of people get stuck and like keep doing the same job over and over because of getting the paycheck, and they're like, too scared to like move out of the comfort zone and like, going and discovering the unknown. I think that because they all have like, responsibilities, right? Like you have like bills to pay, so like, sometimes you are just like, keep doing. Not that I don't like my job, I love my job actually.
I love the paycheck
my job
too.
If I did,
I think the paycheck is a great motivation for me.
That
too.
is for a lot of people too. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people just doing what they're doing, and then like maybe they're not super, I guess, dissatisfied. There's something like that they, I don't know, feel good about what they do. Or maybe not 100% to a point where like, they hate their job. They stay there for, and I think the main reason for a lot of people probably is in the paycheck. Why do you think like, people don't take a step to, if they're dissatisfied with their job, or like they hate it but they keep working at the same organization, or why do you think people do that?
Yeah, so I think that one, it may be that they feel that their skills are not transferable to other jobs, right? Two is maybe they are not the people who find that excitement in learning to do new things, right? And it's like, hey, look, I've done this for 20 years.
Right.
Why do I need to go anywhere, right? So it's that sense of comfort. I don't want to be
and
comfortable.
If you're hating your job, right?
Sometimes
you want to be somewhere like with me.
I know this may sound crazy, but I'm not one of those who believe that passion should always drive your career decisions or your... I like money a lot.
I do too.
I enjoy things related to money. So, and I had this conversation with my daughter where I said, well, it's true you like arts, but do something that would give you money, because arts alone, I don't think you will have money. Passion should not always be the driving force behind career decisions. You should think about the money, yes. You should think about what would stay in terms, because some jobs are being taken away, especially with artificial intelligence. We hear lots of things about how AI is going to replace so many jobs. So if you're only going after passion, you should really be careful. Think about the possibility of that job staying 20, 30, 40 years from now, or think about the fact that what can you provide value to the company. I think what we miss is also value, because what makes people happy is if they are providing value first, and if they are being compensated adequately for the kind of value they are providing. Because if you're not providing value, the money may be good. I could stay at a job where the money is really good, especially if I have bills to pay, but trust me, I would do something outside of that job that would give me satisfaction.
So I think that it's all about the mindset, right? And I could hear a lot of people out there, did you just say your passion should not precede,
I'm saying it should not always guide you. I'll say it again.
No, look, it's like a lot of the way that we believe things is just like how we've been brought up, because that's exactly what my mother would say to me, right? You're not going to be a nurse? Oh my God, right? So how are you ever going to make money? You're not going to be a nurse. And so I completely get that. I also think that that is a different school of thought, in a sense that the way you think about skilling, acquiring skills, and you have to also account for people that are educated versus non-educated, right? Having, whether you have a college degree versus you don't have a college degree, or you just a high school graduate. What does that look like in this job market? And I think a lot of the people who may not be educated, having the big degrees, they may be at a disadvantage where they really can't say much in terms of how, and I'm not speaking for all of them, but most of them would just be like, well, I'm okay here because I am at least getting this, right? They may be comparing to people who's making less than them, and they may just be like where they're at now, right? And so it really just depends, right? Where you're at, if you're in a nonprofit versus a for-profit, right? All of those things matter, because...
And talking about college degrees, taking over jobs, do you think college degrees would soon be in extinction, if I should use that word? Because it's almost like everything changing, right? Do you see college degrees, PhDs just being pushed to the side as we get more towards artificial intelligence, people learning very specific things that they can use AI to leverage to grow? do you see that happening 5-10 years from now?
Yeah, I also do think that, no, depending, it really just depends on the job category that
Right.
you're in, right? So let's say training and development, for instance, right? We could get an AI to do a training and like put it up in a learning management system and teach people certain things, but you can't have that AI also be present in a room full of people and doing a presentation for 15, 20, 30, 40 people,
But maybe
right?
it will eventually.
It could, right? However, I've been looking more into different articles, and it's saying right now where we're at is that people actually are looking for that human connection because we've been so much apart because of AI. People are yearning to be together now, right? And so I think, yeah, temporarily it may seem like that an AI can do a presentation for like 30, 40 people, but it's that human connectedness that people are looking for, right? You can attest to yourself if you're at work and you're doing a Zoom presentation versus if you're in person, right? What that different, it gives you a different feel and a different
Right.
vibe.
But do you
So
think
it just depends on the job, right? I think.
Yeah, do you think that's also is almost like if we are working with my generation, right? We want that human connection, right? But the new generation, your daughter, right? Or like your kids, I think they're too much into a virtual world. I don't think so. They would even want to have that human connection because they grew up or they're growing up as not having as much human connection as our generation has or the generation before us, right? So do you think maybe our generation have they desire to have that human connection, but maybe the generation before or after that?
Mariama, just before you answer though, something came to mind. Like I read somewhere that one of the strongest skills that people need in this age of AI is communication skills, right? Because that one we always need it. Absolutely, people with strong communication skills would excel. Even with AI, that's just the fact. But if you want to go ahead and
that and cutting trees, do you think an AI is gonna go cut somebody's tree?
It's possible, but
Possible.
it's not happening anytime soon. It's not happening anytime soon. It's gonna go into someone's bathroom and figure out the plumbing and all of those things. It's interesting the jobs or do house cleaning. It's possible a robot could move around cleaning the house, but that's not happening anytime soon. Maybe
I think I'd be freaked out if a machine had a saw and going into my backyard. I would be freaked out by that. But of course, we probably are not away from that. Well, what I would say is that again, it really just depends on the job criteria, right? So even right now, people are losing their jobs, like lawyers, for instance. I read somewhere where they were actually hiring lawyers to train the AI models, right, to take on certain cases. And so then now lawyers are going to be obsolete at some point, right? Because why would you need a lawyer when you can train an AI model to do that?
Goes back to
so the education piece, right?
So maybe I have a very simple explanation to that. Why it's interesting because it boils down to the law and interpretation of the law, right? If we just take the law and throw it into the AI model, really the whole thing, it's possible because it's information to interpret the law and give everything that you really need. So I feel bad that lawyers may be replaced. I'm sure we still need some of them.
I think
it's interesting.
It's not going to happen overnight.
So
eventually, I think a lot of the jobs.
So now what do you ladies think about what are some of the jobs that if we had to go back 10, 15 years, do you think you would change your career path? Do you think you would change? What are some of the jobs that are staying that people need to take training courses in, even with AI, that those jobs can stay?
So I think anything in human services is one.
Absolutely,
I think
number one,
right? Because it's like
nurses. On that note too, though, before you continue, I see what your mom was saying because I also had the exact same kind of coaching. When I said there's no way I'm doing nursing, I got a lot of skepticism from people. Oh, you're doing public administration. There's no way you'd get a job in that. But I got a job. But go ahead with
so anything in human services, I think that's going to be sticking around for a very long time. I think that when it comes to data scientists, right, you have AI models that are replicating things within a tenth of a second
and even
on a regular basis.
Even writing code.
Right.
And can you imagine a few years ago, these are some of the jobs that some of the career paths that if you had the talent to do it, you would die to be a programmer. You would die to be a data scientist. That's changing.
So those types of things, I think, like we admire, an engineer or a programmer. Like that used to be the thing where you could make a lot of money doing it, and now it's shifting a little bit.
And AI is writing all the code. And another thing too is take training.
I also feel about a lot of the healthcare jobs, nurses. Eventually, I think they will take over.
I think that will be hard to replace. It's possible, but to replace those jobs and take care of a real
nurses,
human being.
Like you can have sometimes
listen. Human beings don't need robots taking care of them. Sometimes part of healing is having a real human there.
Right.
You seeing the human being, communicating with them,
if you're
brings
working
healing.
with new generation who actually don't really care about having that human
They
connection,
care though. They're human beings. They care. People would always be people. That's one thing I know AI is never taking away.
Can I tell you guys something that I recently saw? It was like a YouTube video on how AI is actually causing younger people to have case of early dementia signs. So it was very interesting. And in that, they were talking about different generations. And, we're kids in there, people in there, they're 16, 17, under 30, and they were saying, look, I believe that I was brought up with no choice but to have an iPhone, but to have a smart gadget, right? I didn't have a say-so in terms of how I can immerse myself in this. And so they're actually taking a step back and saying, you know what, I'm going to just go to a flip phone because I don't want to be dependent on this device for my every needs, right? Because it doesn't meet that need. And so they're young people, to your point, young people are the ones that are saying, look, I'm not saying all of them, right? Because I know my kids, they love, right? I have to set parameters around that. But they are seeing how disadvantaged they are because in terms of human connection, in terms of making friends, you're staring at the screen and you're not making that human connection. That's why we're seeing the suicide rate go up. We see all of these different things happen because there's not that human connection. So I think that will never go away in terms of the way that we're sitting right here. Think about it during COVID, right? We had, everything was like on Zoom. People stopped going to church. They stopped doing, you could tell what happened with people's mental health, right? It declined. And so that,
for, like,
right?
not talking to another human, right? Having that's like your cognitive abilities can
could decline because you're not around.
One other thing that people can learn is really, that's not going away, is learning how to leverage AI to be effective at your job. Because I've seen that firsthand of how you can use the AI tools that are available at work to really make work go quick for you.
Anything that like technology, right? Like there's like pros and cons, right? So even when computers came, a lot of people were having like different opinions about they won't be good. But if you look at from like positive perspective, they actually do add values. Calculators in Excel that we use now, like after calculator, right? So I think like it depends on, to me, I feel like I'm more on the positive side of AI and like some of the things that I feel that some of the jobs that human don't like doing it. If like, you're a garbage picker, right? You probably don't want to wake up early in the morning and do that. So
they actually make a lot of money.
They do make a lot of money, but also something like people may not like, maybe like feel embarrassed about like telling somebody that you do that, right? I don't know. I'm just assuming. So the jobs that nobody wants to do, right? That's something probably would be good for like, AI to like, do those. And there's, to me, I feel like there's benefits. But then also like, anything that you overdo, right? Like if you try to like, take everything away from like humans not going to have any interaction with any jobs, then it can be like harmful for humanity.
Yes.
Can I just say what something you said about not people not wanting to do those jobs and then AI can then take over. But think about being a lawyer. Think about how much money people put into that to go to law school, right? Think about like, becoming an engineer and a programmer, how much money people put into that kind of stuff. So I think we really don't have a choice in terms of what jobs are going to be taken off the market, right? Because it's this capitalistic society, whatever works. So that's one, right? Because we could say, oh, people don't like farming, but are we really going to get AI to do farming for us? Right. So the point being, though, is that, yes, I do think
AI is already doing farming.
Well, there's that. So I do think that there is a benefit, 100%. I'm not arguing against it. I think we just have to use it ethically. Right. We have to use it within parameters. you have to have regulations around it, right? Now, when you get on Facebook and you see something, people have pages completely AI, and then here comes a baby boomer or somebody who's a little bit older. Oh, this is so beautiful. You're like, no, this is not a real, right? So how do we have ethics around that, right? How do we say, hey, look, at the bottom of the page, this is AI. And I think that that's not really up to us as your little people. This is more like a governmental regulation. What kind of parameters are they willing to put there so that there is ethical usage of AI, period. And I'm 100% behind AI, but provided that you're not using it to be dumber.
I like the fact what you mentioned about putting regulations about AI, because I feel like this can be like, if everything is just open, this would lead to so much destruction. AI can be a tool of mass destruction in the sense that now AI can replicate your face. We see an image that appears exactly as you. Imagine somebody distorts it and place it like this person is doing that, and then suddenly people start harming you. Having regulations would be a safe way to go about AI, because without regulations, honestly, let's not even use AI. Let's abandon the whole thing about AI and just live lives, because we need those regulations about what's ethical and what's not ethical.
I think even in the workplace, right, you have to have some sort of policy around utilizing AI, right? Because if you're a person who's writing notes and things like that, and you're not being cautious of inputting data into the AI, that's a problem, right?
Because you could
the
enter
HIPAA issue or whatever.
Personally identifiable information.
You don't want to do those things, right? So there are so many things that could happen as a result of having those type of parameters around the usage of AI.
Wow. So do you leverage AI to make training better?
Yeah, so I usually have what outcome I'm looking for in a training. What do I want people to walk away with when they come to this training? And what I do is, this is my idea, and it gives me really good outline in terms of what I could focus on, right? And I use it as an assistive device to my work. I don't say, hey, put this together and it's out, right? First of all, if an AI generates stuff, you need to really be looking at it, right? To make sure it is accurate. But I use it as an assistive tool, and it is something that you really have to train them in order for them to give you what you want. Exactly. And sometimes the human frustration in not having the right prompt, I'm gonna just do it myself. But it really does give you this is the outcome. What are some things I could do in terms of role plays or scenarios that could help out in that? So I would say for sure I use it as an assistive device for myself.
Yeah, I think I've used it too here and there for outlines. I think it really helps you. And also even sometimes read, if it gives you the script too, you can read it and actually you generate your own thoughts about something that you read. And so it's almost like it actually assistive device that people can actually use it.
So another crazy question is AI replacing intelligence. Do you guys see a future where there are no intelligent people in the world, because all the intelligence is out there? Someone that was traditionally considered a foolish person, for instance, would use the intelligence provided by AI and give you the impression that they're actually really smart. Do you guys see a future where the whole crap about IQ no longer exists? Because we hear things like, oh, that person has a high IQ, but AI is giving us all the IQ that we need.
I'm just thinking about your question. Are you saying kids who are actually using AI are becoming smarter? Or this is where I'm trying to understand your question. You're saying they're using AI, so they're just becoming smarter, but they really aren't.
I think everyone is becoming smarter with AI. Everyone that uses AI.
It's actually a good thing.
So then would there be a point where the way we used to consider smart people, we no longer consider them smart, because everything we need is right there available?
Why can't everybody be smart?
So
I look at a lot of AI stuff, like people in third world countries, they don't speak English, right? So I see a lot of these apps that are actually allowing people to learn English, or sometimes people are so embarrassed to have their accent, right? Their native language accent. So they're embarrassed when they speak American in front of Americans, so they don't pronounce the words right. So I think it's actually helping people around the world to actually
To learn new language is not just English, because English is
learn
not the
languages.
standard
Yeah,
for
I'm just
anything.
like giving one example, right? But in general, not just the language, any skill, right? So they can learn. So to me, I feel like it's actually like if a dumb person can't take advantage of AI and raise their IQ, right? They can pretty much like, why can't they? It's okay. So I don't find it like there won't be people anymore intelligent that actually did, their own studies without, right?
Do you see the definition of intelligence changing?
There's a hard question to answer, and so I can get both of what you all are saying. First of all, I feel like you can't really fake intelligence. Right? If you're intelligent, you can sit behind a computer all day and produce a 20-page paper. But then when somebody talks to you, like that really is a testament of whether you're intelligent or not, or you can reproduce whatever
That's why communication comes in.
Right.
If you don't have the skills.
I was not saying that. Of course, like, I agree with you. What you were saying earlier too, somebody can just like write a paper like, using AI, but then like they're not able to present it. You can
communication,
kind of
it's a skill that's like, never going away. Even with AI.
It didn't really come from you, right? Yeah. So like, I get that, but I was gonna say having somebody using AI and educating themselves.
Oh, that's not a problem. Yeah, I think I get the basis of your question in that if somebody, like with everything, you have to take the good and the bad, right? And you have to lead in the middle. Because if you are a parent and you're allowing your child to use AI to write a paper, for instance, right? You want to teach your child how to use your AI to think with your child, not for the AI to do the things for the child, right? Because if we have them dependent upon it solely, then I do think that at some point intelligence is going to maybe, because no one is using their brain to critically think about anything anymore, right? Because it's like, look, I can just feed this and then this is what's going to happen. And I think that it's a way of just trying to figure out how can we use this tool. It's going to be there for you, but it's not for you to be lazy. It's for you to be able to help you think, right? As opposed to, oh, you could just chat GPT, or you could just do Claude. But are we doing the things that we need to do, right, in order for us to also think, right? Not just depending on a machine to think for us.
That's a great way to look at it. Leaders like yourself have to really look at AI.
How you can use it, like how you can minimize it if you're not really thinking and
how to leverage it to be more effective at job.
Right.
I know we talked about people hate their jobs, right? And they still keep doing what they're doing and don't change. But I also want to ask you, the young people who graduate from colleges and they're looking to start their professional career, right? Do you have any advice for them? Some of the soft skills that they may need. To me, I feel personally that beside having education and the skills for your job, soft skills are very important.
100%. This takes me back to when I was graduating, and it's like, what do I do now? I got this degree. How do I get the job? And if I really could go back, it would be what Judy mentioned earlier, in that it's all about communication, right? Being able to clearly articulate. That's how you market yourself, right? Because if you don't know, you don't have those communication skills, you can have the most beautiful, lavish degrees, and you're not going to be able to, right? You're just going to be a smart person, right? Not someone who's able to articulate what you can do and give value to that employer. So that's one. Two is really just being able to network, right? Utilizing your connections, right? If I knew that, is like being in close proximity to people who are influential so that you can get your foot in the door somehow. I think those would be some of the things, like the networking part, the communication part, selling yourself, right? Because that's what we're doing ultimately.
I like the fact that you mentioned people, because networking is one of the things that we can really use to grow in our careers. That brings me to my final question, the question that we usually ask all guests. The final question we ask all guests on this podcast is, if life gave you a complete reset tomorrow, what is the one thing you would change or maintain first, and why?
A complete reset, man. So that's a big one, because I think, right, I am the sum total of my experiences. So I would really have a hard time, right, if I had to like start all over again, right? And because I feel like places that I've been has taught me lessons to be where I'm at, to be, if you think I'm wise, I feel like it's made me wiser, right? But if I could go back and just wake up a brand new person, I would say it's like the book that says like, fail faster. So take action quicker, fail faster, move, because that's the only way that you can build confidence, right? Like the ability to say, hey, I want to do this. And then, right, because sometimes we may want to be doing things, but our fears, what we've been talking about, can hold us back, right? And so the only way that you can fight against that is to take action faster so that you can grow faster. And so that's what I would be doing differently. Take risks faster, move through life and make all the mistakes, right? Because if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn, you don't grow.
Right.
So that's what I would do differently.
Wow. That's a great point, because you can spend your whole life trying to learn from people's mistakes and avoid making the mistakes yourself. But what you're ultimately doing to yourself is you're destroying yourself, because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to learn, take risks, learn new things, fail, learn, grow. Well, thank you so much, Mariam Majalo. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
It was lovely. Thank you all so much for having me.
And if this conversation resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and follow us. And remember to leave your comments so we know what resonated with you about this topic. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.